Hello everybody out there in YouTube land. I had a lot of my friends asking me after seeing that I'm so freaky about cast iron, and especially with the video that I did where I had two pans going on, one with a frying egg with oil, one with a frying egg without oil, and both of them turned out to be non-stick. So people saying, well, how do you take a cast iron pan and how do you season it? So here we have a cast iron pan. This is one that I've recently bequeathed a little bit ahead of time to my buddy Andrew. And Andrew said, show me how to season this pan. So I thought, fine, no problem, we'll do that. While we're at it, we're going to do two of these little guys. These ones I bought at the auction mart for, I think, $15 each or something. And then this lovely big lodge pan that I often use for doing jambalayas. And the trick with jambalayas is, it's a tomato sauce, it sits in there a long time, and it does tend to strip off the seasoning a little bit, so every once in a while I like to give it a bit of a boost. So, here's how simple it is. What we're going to do is we're going to put a special coating of plastic on here. And the coating of plastic is actually going to be from oil. We're going to put oil in the pan, a very thin layer. We're going to heat it up to a very high temperature, and at that high temperature, it is going to do something called polymerizing. So it's actually going to bond to the pores in the cast iron, and it is going to become very hard and very solid and contiguous, like a hard surface of plastic, and you won't have any problems with metal utensils. It's never going to scratch. It's also very easy to clean. So in terms of the type of oil you want to use, it has to have a high heating point. So what you do not want is, you do not want butter, you do not want olive oil, but vegetable oil works just fine. It's perfect for the job. So you're just going to take a little bit, and the trick here is, and I'll just put a little bit in each pan just to make sure that each pan's got a bit to start. The trick here is you don't want to use too much. So you can start out with a fair bit if you want, but the trick in starting out is to get as much as you can onto the pan so that you make sure all the little crevices are properly covered. So I a lot of times will take one of these blue towels, and by the way, these blue towels are just Scott shop towels, and I don't own any stock in the company whatsoever, just like using them. And the real benefit of these, they're essentially paper towels with very little lint that comes off, so you don't get little stray bits of white fluff showing up on your pans, which wouldn't be a huge deal either way. But and then I just take it and I kind of fold it up and I just kind of spread it around here. And I'll do the same thing with the next one. And these ones have already been done sort of outside and in, so if I'm doing a pan for the first time, I tend to do the entire surface, and I'll even do that. I'll do this process 2, 3, 4, 5 times until I'm quite happy with it. And when I'm doing that initial one, I tend to do around the entirety of the pan, every single surface possible. But when I'm doing secondary ones sort of later on, I just do this. And I don't generally bother to re-season pans most of the time, for the simple fact that just by using them, you tend to re-season them on a regular basis, because each time you use them, you're putting a little bit of oil in there, and you're heating up that oil to a high enough temperature that some of that oil is going to bond to the pan. So every single time it bonds to the pan, it just adds and adds and adds. And then when you clean it, because it's essentially non-stick, you don't really need soap or anything to clean it. So you just wash it off with some hot water and scrub it with a brush, or if you need to, scrape a little bit off with one of your plastic utensils. I have a little thing here when I'm cleaning a pan. I think this came from Lodge. Yeah, this is a little Lodge thingy. And it's just a great little scraping tool that just scrapes anything that might seem to be sticking, but it comes off very easy. Not a problem at all. So I'm just coating as well as I can across the whole surface of these pans. And again, you don't want to have too much on there, and if it feels like you're getting too much on, you can always change to a second paper towel, but I find a lot of times I just keep going with the one and I keep sopping it up more and more. And then what we're going to do, excuse me for a moment, I was just throwing that in the garbage. My oven is heating up behind me. I've told it to go to 500 degrees. Ultimately 400 would be fine. A lot of times I like using my barbecue because it'll go to 600, 700 degrees, but in the wintertime, not so good to do it in the barbecue. So works just fine in the oven. I'm using this to go to 450, or sorry, to 500. But what I also do is I like to preheat the pans a little bit up to about 350, and then I pull them out and give another quick wipe just to make sure I haven't got too much oil off. And heating them up to that 350 point means that the oil gets a little bit softer, a little bit more slippery, and I can pull that extra excess off. If you put too much on, what will happen is you will get a little bit of a film that's almost tacky and gunky, which is why you don't want to use too much at a time. If you want to get a good solid coating, it's better to do many small layers rather than one great big huge layer. It just won't work that way. So I'm going to go ahead and toss these into the oven as is. So it's at about 320, 330 right now. It'll be done to 350 pretty darn soon. I'm just going to get another paper towel ready here. Grab a handy silicone glove so I don't very much injure myself and feel pain. It's never good to feel pain. I'm not a pain lover. I'm one of these guys that likes being comfortable all the time. So, where are we at here? 320. Well, we'll give it a moment or so here. So as I was saying, with cleaning, nothing to it. Regular brush is all I use, a little bit of hot water, and of course the scraping thing. These things are beautiful. These are, not only do they look nice,
so pretty,
they also have this very kind of scritchly, bitchly, itchly surface that they've got that do a lovely job of scraping off just about anything. Yet I think they're made of probably some kind of nylon thread, polyester material, I don't know. But you buy these at your kitchen store or wherever you want to buy stuff. Those things work well too. So when it comes down to it, it's just a matter of collecting a few of these little things. You don't need a lot of fancy stuff to make it work. It's just normal kitchen stuff you tend to have. What are we at? Still says 320, but you know what? I'm going to pull them out and do that extra step so we don't have to stand too much and listen to me blather on. Just taking off that extra little bit on top. Voila! Head out of a hot oven is often a good thing. And there it goes. So I'm going to let that get up to about 500 degrees. And then I'm going to start a timer for 15 minutes or something. It really doesn't take that long. Some people will say it's got to be in there for an hour. Really not necessary. 15 minutes is plenty of time. And then once it's done, I will just turn off the oven after 15 minutes and just let it coast down. It might take an hour, 2, 3 for it to get completely cool. The benefit of that is not only that you give it that extra coasting time, but the fumes can be a little bit intense sometimes. Depending upon the oil you've used, you may notice that it smells a little more for some versus others. If you need to, turn on your fan a little bit. But by keeping the oven closed and not opening it up, it tends to keep most of those smells trapped inside with the oven. So there you go. Now, in case you're wondering about the stove, some people are saying, gosh, you're all serious about cast iron, but you don't have a gas range. I actually prefer induction. I find that it's got the benefits of gas in terms of instant on and instant off, but it heats up very, very, very quickly, has a great deal more control, and works spectacular with cast iron. So thank you. Hope that answers any questions you might have had. Have yourself a great day, and we'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.